Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dig into the corporate world's secrets. Today, we're diving into a Form 8K filing from Optex Systems Holdings, Inc. Prepare for a roller coaster of votes, approvals, and maybe a few surprises along the way. It's like a high-stakes game of corporate poker where we see who's bluffing and who's holding a royal flush. First, let's decode what this Form 8K actually is. It's basically a corporate alert system, a report companies file with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, to announce major events that could affect their investors. Think of it as the corporate world's version of breaking news. This particular one was filed on February 24, 2025, about events that happened on February 19, 2025. So what big event triggered this filing? The company held its annual meeting of shareholders. That's when the people who own the company, even just a tiny piece, get together to vote on important stuff. Now let's dive into what exactly was voted on. It's like checking the ballot box to see what passed and what didn't. There were three key proposals on the table. First up, the election of directors. This is where shareholders get to choose who will sit on the company's board, the group that oversees the company's strategy and performance. It's a bit like choosing your fantasy football team, except the stakes are way higher. 4 nominees were up for election: Danny R. Skoning, Dayton Judd, Dale E. Lehman, and R. Rimi Malhotra. And the results? All 4 nominees were elected to the board. Looks like the shareholders were happy with the choices. However, it's worth noting the withhold votes. For example, Danny R. Skoning had 83,297 withhold votes. That means some shareholders weren't completely on board with his election but didn't vote against him outright. It's like a lukewarm endorsement. Next on the agenda was the ratification, which means approval, of Whitley Penn LLP as the company's independent registered public accounting firm. In simple terms, this is about choosing the company that checks Optex's financial books to make sure everything is accurate and above board. It's like hiring a financial detective to keep an eye on things. The final item was an advisory vote on the compensation of the company's named executive officers, or NEOs. This is where shareholders get to weigh in on whether they think the top bosses are being paid fairly. It's an advisory vote, meaning the company doesn't have to follow the shareholders' recommendation, but it's still a good way to gauge investor sentiment. Think of it as a report card for the CEO and other top executives. So what's the takeaway from all of this? All 4 director nominees were elected, and the proposals to ratify the accounting firm and approve executive compensation passed. It seems like shareholders are generally happy with the company's direction. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This filing tells us that Optex Systems is ticking along, following established corporate governance procedures. Electing directors, ratifying auditors, and seeking input on executive pay are standard practices. However, the details matter. Were there any controversies or close votes? While the election of directors was successful, the presence of withhold votes suggests some shareholders have reservations. Also, regarding the compensation of the executives, you can see that there were 123,022 votes against and 448,798 abstained, which is worth looking at. Overall, Optex Systems seems to be navigating the corporate waters without major storms. The successful election of directors and approval of key proposals suggest a level of stability and shareholder confidence. However, it's always wise to keep an eye on those undercurrents of dissent, those withhold and against votes, because they might signal future turbulence. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment with other companies you want me to review.